Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Underworld Rise of the Lycans. So this is the third movie in the franchise of the Underworld series. And it came out in 2009 when the original one came out in 2003. And the sequel came out in 2006. And so I really enjoy this movie. However, there's something off with this movie. It's a bit flawed, and it started to show the cracks not only in like the VFX department, but just like the storytelling all around. One major problem with this movie is that everything is rushed. And I mean, all the important plots that this movie wanted to tell all get rushed. And not only are they rushed, the movie focused primarily. Okay, so here's the thing. The main stars of this movie is, of course, Victor, who has now returned because this is a prequel movie and everything. See, Lynn Wiseman always pictured that the Underworld franchise would be a trilogy, but now there are 5 movies and a anime short. But he's always wanted this to be a trilogy. And so this was planned out for, like, you know, at some point the trilogy. Problem is that, like, well, maybe this wasn't always planned out because, see, the first 2 movies were supposed to be one as a whole, but it was too long and split up into 2. The 4th movie was originally supposed to be the sequel, and then perhaps this one was supposed to be his 3rd movie in the entry. And so, like, Victor returns in this movie because it's a prequel. Also, Lucian returns in this movie because it's a prequel. And Sonia is now also the main focus because this is a prequel. And all 3 of those characters, of course, are now dead in the present day. And so Celine does not show up in this, but Kate Beckinsale did express interest in the sequel and the prequel. And so because of that, she gets a cameo in this movie, an audio cameo. She is the one who narrates the beginning of this movie. And they show archive clips of her towards the end of the movie from the first one. She finds out why her family was like slaughtered and stuff. And so, like, all the major plot lines that they rush through, it always focus on the main 3. They never really deviate from that of the main 3 cast. Primarily, like, even though Sonia is in this and she is the new heroine, it mostly focuses on that of Lucian. Because they wanted the werewolf's point of view, right? And so pretty much every major scene that either like has him in it, and if it doesn't have him in it, it has Victor in it. And Victor is normally associated with Sonia, or Sonia is normally associated with that of Lucian. Sonia, she doesn't really feel, she feels more like Michael Corvin, where is an ally and not so much a supporting character, but more of an accessory to that of the main hero. And so the main topics that this thing touches on is the love romance of Sonia and Lucian, the lycans being slave bodyguards, and, you know, the fight between like the werewolves and the vampires. And all 3 of those get very rushed. And there are some scenes that need to be shown a bit more, like say with the council, that we never really get the focus on. But then those get rushed because it's mostly, you know, revolves around Victor. And all the stuff that revolves around like the lycans revolve mostly around that of Lucian. We really don't get to hear and see the point of view of the other lycans that much because it mostly just focuses on him. And the other lycans are literally just there. Even some of the big name New Zealand actors they have in this movie are just there for teeny tiny roles, which really pissed me off because I am a fan of some of those New Zealand actors, and I've seen them in plenty of stuff. So I wanted them to see them more and their like perspective, other than them just happen just to be like in like henchmen, like in the first movie and stuff. And so that's a problem these movies have always had. Also, they free a bunch of like human slaves that they later help out with like the lycans, but we never get to see them freed because all of this is rushed. And so, like, when I say they rushed stuff, I literally mean the fight was rushed. Like, okay, the war between the vampires and the werewolves, that was rushed so we can get a fight between Lucian and Victor, and that was rushed because, of course, the actor who plays Victor is much older and stuff. The love between that of Sonia and Lucian, I was expecting, since this is going to tell the story of all that, I was expecting to see how they fell in love. That gets completely glossed over, and we never know how they truly fell in love with each other. The movie just starts off with we're thinking that she despises him because he's a werewolf, but then all of a sudden they just start making out and boning and everything. And it's kind of like, wait, hold up. So they already fell in love, and we're in the mix of their relationship? That sucks, because I wanted to see how exactly they fell in love because they're two species that's supposed to hate each other. And so it brings us back to that Romeo and Juliet vibe from the first movie, which is something that was missing in the second one because the second one's more action packed. And, all this rushing around just really, really sucks because they've had 2.5 years to make this movie, and I wanted a more like, story driven narrative. And so, like, not only that, but another problem I have with this movie is the VFX. For the first real time in the franchise, I can see the flaws more apparent in like the VFX. I could not see them in the second, except for the hand transformation. But like in the first movie, the only time the CGI looked bad is when the lycans were like running around inside the building because that was CGI. But in this movie, there are like so many bad VFX shots. And it's very shocking and stuff. Like there's a scene where Lucian transforms and it's terrible looking. But then other times when he transforms, it's really, really good. And don't get me wrong, the VFX aren't always terrible. It's just every once in a while, like one transformation is really bad. And then there is the actual cave castle and all the scenes in the woods. Like you can tell that a lot of the lycans in this movie were CGI. There weren't that many practical ones and stuff. And especially when they're running around, it's very apparent. And not only is that very apparent, but okay, first let me address this. You know how these movies always had that blue filter tint to it because they're trying to copy off the Blade movie and stuff like that? And you can tell in the first movie, and it was very apparent in the second. In this movie, they changed it up. Instead of it just being blue, it's light blue with a green tint to it. So I do like that because now you get to see more color within the characters and their skin tones instead of their skin tone just being blue. However, this is the first time in the movie series where I cannot tell what's going on at night. One of the cool things about the blue in the other movies that at night it really pops at night with the black and the blue and you can tell what's going on. Here, I don't know what the world is going on because when they're in the woods and when they're around the castle at night, it's like it looks like blurry CGI. Like the entire thing just looks like blurry CGI. It's like the bluish green tint, the black, and then it's like there's like a fog that's constantly going around everywhere. It's going around the forest, it's going around the castle, and it makes for kind of like there's this smoky effect going around everywhere, and you don't know what the world you're looking at, especially when you see the CGI lycans. It's just like, what exactly is going on? Not to mention the castle cave looking thing, the mountain castle. Cause it's basically a castle built within like a mountain cave looking thing. It looks entirely CGI and it looks entirely fake. It just looks blurry and mushy and stuff like that. So I'm very disappointed in that. And I'm not trying to like, weigh this movie down, but I'm just pointing out the flaws in this movie. Because when this came out years ago, it took me a long time to buy this on DVD because I wasn't sure if I wanted to or not. And and it's hard because you're getting invested in this movie, but then it's hard to tell what the world you're looking at. You have this main protagonist in Lucian, but then you also assume it's in that of Sonia because she is supposed to resemble that of Celine. And where she does, because the two actresses do favor kinda, but they do look totally different. But this actress looks way more convincing than the one in the first movie that was in the cameo. And so like the thing is that it also rushes her importance of the movie because basically she's, like I said before, she's just a side character in this movie. And she's supposed to have this father-daughter dynamic with that of Victor, but you don't really feel it between those two. It feels more like she doesn't really feel like his daughter. She just feels more like his friend that kind of like betrayed him. And Celine and Victor seem more like daughter and father. Also, another major problem I have is when they reshot her death scene. It's different from that of the first movie. There's one improvement because how the world did the vampires survive sunlight in the first movie when she died, but now they corrected that. But everything else is completely visually different. And I don't understand why, because it messes with my canon head and stuff. Not only that, but the biggest disappointment is that of Victor. Yes, he is still mean, he is still evil and everything, but they gave him compassion, even to the point where he breaks down and cry. And I'm just kind of like, no. Like they retcon that statement that he made in the first one. That the revelation that he condemned his daughter to death because she slept with that of a werewolf and had a baby by him. That was chilling in the first movie, and it was done in the most stone cold kind of way. Now we see that he has compassion not only for Lucian, but that of his daughter, and he didn't even want to condemn her. He only did it because he would have lost out on the vote, and his people was already turning against him. They ruin his villain streak with those moments of compassion. And it's kind of like, why? He is not a compassionate person. Victor is stone cold evil. And not only is he's been presented that way for two movies, Stone Cold Evil and hating werewolves, but now he has sympathy for one werewolf, that way he thought of him as like a son. And it's just kind of like, why was this put in the movie? It totally ruins his whole character arc for those first two movies. And this is one reason why people say this was an unnecessary like prequel, because we got these tidbits in the first movie in like very short amount, and now they elaborated on it, but they elaborated on it more to like make him a sympathetic villain and everything. Then there's the fake out death scene at the end of the movie, which we knew he wasn't gonna die because he lives until like the first movie. But and then it was just kind of like, well, that was kind of pointless. It would have been nice if he was damaged really bad, which he is hurt, but he ain't that damaged. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. And then it's a little confusing because then, he's put in his chamber, but it's kind of like, well, is it his time to be put there? Because he would technically just regenerate on his own. And, So I don't get it. And so like cause this movie takes place 20 years after the beginning of the second movie where we see the war between the werewolves and the vampires. And that battle in the second movie was way better than the one in this one. And so like I would have been more happy with this movie if they would have focused on Amelia. We still don't get much of nothing from her. And it would have been nice to see her take full center in like, underworld movie because the other two elders did. And so, like, also this kind of retcons their whole immortality. Every movie changes it up. Apparently, in the first one, it was stated that these vampires will eventually live for a very long time, then eventually die of old age. And so it's like, that doesn't sound very immortal to me. And then you get to the second movie where it's kind of like, okay, it sounds like immortality again. And then the third one is like, okay, it sounds like immortality again. But then it also doesn't because he's all like, Sonia was supposed to be a new elder when Victor time is up. And either if he dies of like battle or he dies. And then it's just kind of like, so what exactly is the continuity when it comes to the immortality? Now, this movie is directed by a brand new person. And this is what's interesting about this. See, look, I've stated before how there was some love triangle drama in the first movie between the main star Kate Beckinsale, the main villain, like Michael Sheen, and that of the director Lynn Wiseman. Basically, Michael and Kate were together. Lynn was married. Something happened at some point in time, but by the second movie, Lynn was divorced and now married to that of Kate, and her and Michael are now broken up. And so, like, Michael did not return for the second movie. His cameos were archive footage, and he had a stunt body person as his dead body. But now Michael is back in the third movie because they wanted to show the point of view of the lycans. And while Michael is front and center, Kate is nowhere to be found in this movie other than archives and narration. This takes place before she was turned into a vampire. And so not only did she not return prominently, but Lynn Wiseman did not direct. He just produced and like helped write the screenplay. And because there had to be some confusion with that whole Lynn, Michael, Kate thing. They're all better now because, Michael and Kate have a kid and they have to get along for the kid's sake and everything. But there had to been some kind of confusion back then, you know what I'm saying? Because, emotions were involved and stuff. And so, like, it's weird how when he shows up, the other two don't. But then you get like the fourth movie and Kate returns and of course Michael's dead in the present day. And but there's no flashbacks even though it does revolve around lycans in that movie and yeah. Also, two people who don't appear in this movie, even though it's a prequel, is that of Craven and Erica. Craven, I thought for sure would have returned because he knew all the dirty secrets of Victor's past and everything. And he also was there during the battle between like the lycans and the vampires when the werewolves fell to the vampires, and him and Lucian was working together to form a coup and everything. They faked Lucian's death. I thought for sure Craven would return, but for whatever reason he did not. Now, we all know why Erica didn't return is because the actress said that Kate went to the director, Lynn, at that time and said, I don't want her in the movie no more. And stuff. And so I was shocked not to see her. But it's cool to see Tannis, who is now the new, snitch and knows all the dark secrets and stuff because he appeared in the second. Ray's returns because this is also a prequel, and it's cool to see how him and Lucian became friends and stuff. Even though still like Kevin Groove Groovovox. I'm not sure how to say his name. Still barely is in the movie, but he's in this movie a whole lot more than he was in the first. Even though this dude is the man who came up with the conception of vampires and werewolves having a Juliet and Romeo vibe and stuff. Like, if it wasn't for him, this would never have happened. And of course, Lynn Wiseman and David McBride are the one who penned out the story and stuff. But the movie is directed by, and I'm not sure how to say his name, Patrick Tatopoulos or something like that. Los, Papalos or something like that. He is the visual, well, he is the production designer for the first two movies, but he became director of this one. And he did a really good job for what was given to him and stuff like that. He doesn't direct much, but he really should. And so, like, this movie actually had a budget of like 35 million, but only made 91, slightly lower than that of the first, and majorly lower than that of the second. Now, of course, Bill Nighy, he returns back as Victor. And the man is great as always, you know. And Rona Mitra, who I always adore, she appears as Sonia. What's really funny about those two is that throughout the entirety of the filming of this movie, he kept his contacts in and she kept her fangs in. A nice little tidbit for you. And of course, Stephen McIntosh, he returns back as Tanis. Newcomers are Craig Parker as a lycan slave and Elizabeth Hawthorne as like a council member to the vampires. And those two I'm huge fans of because I've seen him in Legend of the Seeker. I've seen her in plenty of like American, New Zealand like film stuff. And then you have like other newcomers, other people that I'm used to seeing and stuff, like Tana Nolan, Jared Turner, Timothy Robbie or something like that, and Gerald Turner and stuff. And I've seen them in so many things, from Wendy Wu, The Matrix, Legend of the Seeker, something else I saw one of them in. I said Wendy Wu, Legend of the Seeker, The Matrix, Power Rangers and stuff. So I've seen them in lots of stuff. Sadly, however, they only have the equivalent of probably 5 minutes or less of screen time. And that is not much. And these people are really talented and stuff. And it's quite a shame that the movie doesn't show them a little bit more. Show off like their skills and everything. Like when I say they have like 5 minutes or less, I'm not joking and stuff. So 20 years have passed since the beginning opening of the second movie, where the war between, like, you know, the vampires and the werewolves and all three elders were there. So then at some point they decided to leapfrog through time. The elders did, and Victor is doing his reign. And so William, of course, is in his like little casket prison type thing. And so the problem is that William bit so many people and turned them into werewolves. These werewolves cannot turn back into human, and they are very savage. However, what's bizarre is that in the second movie, we see that when William bites somebody, they turn into more of the cat-like looking werewolf instead of the one that looks like that of William, that has like more of a wolf type face. William is literally the only werewolf that looks like an actual werewolf. But for this movie, they decided to make all of William's victims look more like him, breaking the continuity of the second movie. And so the vampires have a reason why they want to kill all the werewolves, because these werewolves are savage with no humanity in them. Well, one lycan had a child, and that child was Lucian, and he came out looking human, the first werewolf to turn back into their human state. This is the very first female werewolf we ever seen in the entirety of like the first three movies. We've never seen one before, but she's in her werewolf state. And so Victor kills her, and then he was going to kill Lucian, but decided to have sympathy for him. And that just makes his character look so weak. And because he literally has a hatred to these things, but he now has sympathy. And so, like, because of that, it is stated now. Well, actually, I believe there's a female lycan in the fourth movie, I believe. And we get to see her human form. And so, like, um, Lucian grows up to like be a kid. He's really strong and he has become Victor's pet. And so because of that, he trains and all this other stuff, but he is a slave. He grows up to be a blacksmith. He doesn't see, looks at Sonya when she's little because they're the same age, but they just look at each other and that's literally it. And so Victor decided, all right, we're going to have werewolf slaves to protect us during like the day and everything, so that none of the villagers will come in and try to kill us, because the villagers are scared of them, because at this point in time humans do know of werewolves and vampires. The mess has not been cleaned up yet by Alexander Corvinus. And so the werewolves are literally slaves. And that was something that was established in the first movie, so I'm glad they kept that. But then, Lucian grows up, and here's the thing. Michael Sheen's appearance is very different than that of the first movie. He looks a lot slimmer and built, like he lost some weight and put on some muscle. But he looks slimmer. And his hair is not as thick as it was in the first. I guess it's because he wore that giant coat in the first movie, gave him a bigger appearance. Because when you look at him, whether he's wearing clothes or shirtless in this movie, every other werewolf human is a lot muscular and a lot more robust. So it makes him look a lot weaker to them, even though he is the strongest out of all of them. Well, other than William and stuff. And so he is the one who is now like responsible for this new breed of werewolves. And there are hundreds of thousands of them inside like this prison. And so he is the only one who's like allowed to be a blacksmith, while the other ones help build like their little castle and stuff like that. Well, Sonya is a death dealer, and she doesn't like to follow the rules. She likes to go out on her own and patrol and stuff like that. She gets into a run-in with that Williams werewolves, and it's to the point where she almost dies. This causes Lucian to kill some of his own with a crossbow. Now, the crossbow is interesting. I love the weaponry in all these movies. However, this crossbow don't make no sense. It shoots 3 at the same time, and you can choose if you want to shoot 1, 2, or 3 at how many times. So he shoots 2 out of the 3. And the 2, they are vertical the way they're lined up. But when it shoots out, they wanted to make this cool action visual effect where 2 of the arrows are horizontal. They go past like Sonya's head and hit 2 of the werewolves. It never makes no logical sense, but whatever. So because of this, Victor is happy that Lucian has saved his daughter, once again showing sympathy. But when he sees that Lucian is looking a little too much at his daughter, he doesn't like that, and told him he is a credit to his people and he can remain that way by keeping his eyes to the ground. So even though Victor has respect for Lucian, he still treats him like scum, and this is what Lucian hates and everything. Sonya, on the other hand, treats him like crap, but we see this is a ruse because Lucian constantly sneaks out with Sonya to make love with her on top of the mountain. And their love making looks a whole lot better than the one in Underworld Evolution, the second one between Michael and that of Celine. The one about Michael and Celine never looked right. Like, it's kind of like, dude, I'm pretty sure her roast beef is not in her stomach. Like, I know you're a werewolf, half like vampire hybrid, but you're not magically delicious to go up that high. And stuff like that, And so I like the way it's choreographed here better. It's more like poetry in motion, if you will, It's more artistic and everything. And so this is the part, like I said, I had a problem with. Their romance is completely glossed over. We do not know how they fell in love. We just right there in the middle of them constantly being in love already. And that takes away from the emotional feel that these two are supposed to have for each other. Part of falling in love is seeing how somebody falls in love, and we never get that. So, anyways, one thing about Lucian that doesn't make no sense is that when Victor asked him how does it feel to kill your own, and Sonya asked the same thing, he said he doesn't care because they're mindless beasts and everything. William werewolves that are, because they savage in the head. But when he has to burn their bodies and they revert back to human, you start to see some empathy in his face. He is starting now to turn around. So, I'm glad they did that, but I wish they would have shown more. Another thing I wish they would have shown more was him being a slave and being treated like crap. Yes, we know slavery is bad, especially me because I'm black. But it's like I wanted to see more of the hardship they have to face, other than Lucian getting whipped twice because he disobeyed the rules and stuff. But I wanted to see more of how like they're treated like crap. We get snippets of it. Like when they're giving food, they're just giving a big bowl with their slop in there and they all fight over it and stuff. But that's just them fighting amongst themselves. I wanted to really, really see more of that. And we get to see Ray. The vampire have neighbors, and the neighbors are all human, and the vampire needs their human slaves, and their silver. So the vampires have, made a treaty with them. Like, look, we won't eat you, and we won't turn you into vampires if you give us human slaves to turn into werewolves, and all the silver, and we will help protect you against William's werewolves and everything. So they have that peace treaty between the humans, and this is where we meet Reyes. He's with a group of other people who are slaves, and they get attacked by like werewolves and stuff. And when they get attacked by werewolves, like, he's strong enough to beat the werewolves up on his own. He's so big and muscular. And it's kind of like, I don't understand how that's possible because a werewolf, and especially William werewolves, are really strong. But he's the one who helped create this, so I'll give it a slide. Plus, he's barely in any of these movies, so give him his due, you know what I'm saying? And so this causes Sonya to try to, like, save, like, the humans and everything, and she almost gets killed again. This causes Lucian to break free of his chains. See, what the vampires do is that the werewolves wear a collar with these silver spikes. If they transform, then they get stabbed in the neck and they die. Lucian, being a blacksmith, made a key. He fights a couple of the vampires because they don't want to listen to him, and then he takes off the collar and he goes riding off because he can sense something is wrong and he can hear the werewolves and stuff. He kills a bunch of them, saves Sonya, but then the werewolves look at him and they retreat, like they sense something in him, which is weird because William werewolves are supposed to be nothing but pure savage, but now they're showing intelligence, which retcons the second movie. So Victor finds out, slaps the crap out of Lucian, and he gets whipped for that. And it's pretty brutal, and it's just the way black slaves have all those like scars on their backs. But here they use like razor sharp, silver and stuff on the whips. And so we see now how he's treated badly by Victor. He might be Victor's favorite in everything, but Victor will still treat him like a scumbag of a human being. And this causes him to want to escape. He literally tells Sonya, I got a key, I can... Oh, this has happened before she got attacked. He's all like, look, escape with me. I don't care if you come or not, I'm leaving this place. But he doesn't talk about the other werewolves and helping them escape. He's only thinking about himself. But when she gets attacked and he saves her and then he gets smacked by Victor, he realizes something. No matter what, Victor is always going to treat him and his kind like scum. And he's going to need help to like breach the castle walls and stuff. Now this don't make no sense. During the day, why in the world don't the humans just attack the vampires? Well, one of the reasons, like I said before, they're scared of William's werewolves and they know they can't handle them. But what about Lucian's werewolves and him himself? why the heck don't they attack the vampires during the day? During the day, they're inside. All they have to do is break through their restraints, go inside the castle walls and just bust a bunch of windows and everything and kill a bunch of vampires. That has never came up in the entirety of the movie. Now, yes, these werewolves can only transform during a full moon, so they are at a disadvantage. But they can still kill them with, like, windows, pull the curtains back, cut their heads off, or at least bite them, because the werewolf bite will affect them and kill them and stuff. And that's never ever been brought up and stuff. So I never understood that. Now, when it comes to Victor in this thing, Victor is still as mean as always, but like I said before, they keep giving him sympathy. Now, one of the things that I wish would have been elaborated more is why the council is turning against him. We get snippets, we get audio, but we never get no visual. Basically, the council are upset because they say the werewolves are getting closer and closer to breaching the walls, and they need more defense. They want to have lycan guards of Lucian's kind outside the walls on chains to help protect them. Victor don't want this because he said you cannot trust the werewolves and stuff like that, and they will turn against us. But the council is very adamant and they want Lucian to lead the charge. And so, like, it would have been nice to see them argue more with that of, like, Victor. Even the humans argue with him and stuff. So one human had his neck snapped. And, I want to see what else concerns that the council has. Because the council is something we never really get the feeling of. But we do know because of this discord, the council will split. The coven will split into two. However, when you get to the fourth movie, look like it's in the fourth and fifth, look like it's split about like 100 times. So continuity is completely broken. Now, he knows there's something going on between his daughter and Lucian, but he's not quite sure what. So he lets it play out. Sonia is very interesting. It's kind of hard to pinpoint her personality. She is very fierce and headstrong. She doesn't want to be part of the council, but Victor wants her to be part of the council. And he wants her to take over as an elder when his time is fully up. She doesn't want none of that. Basically, she just likes being a death dealer, killing werewolves, protecting the humans, and just making out with her werewolf boyfriend and stuff. That's really all there is to her. It would have been nicer to see her as a teen doing this because her angst in the movie are very teenage-like. The same with that of Lucian. And so her and her father constantly can't get along because of this. But for the most part, she's not really gentle, like a gentle person. Like, she's edgy, but kind of gentle in a way. But I do like her. So I just wish we could have gotten so much more of her. And so, like, Tannis, he sees those two interacting together and he keeps it to himself. When he tells Lucian, be careful because your eyes are giving you away, letting Lucian know, crap, somebody knows and everything. So Sonia goes to him wanting to know what the heck he wants, and she does it with a knife to his throat. He tells her he wants to be part of the council, so she's gonna make it happen if they'll keep their secret and also let them have some alone time together. So he is the one who helps Lucian further break out his cage and meets up with that of Sonia. And even to the point where somehow he's able to bribe some guards into helping him do that, but it's never shown how. And so, like, she knows that him and her need to escape from there. But now he says he ain't doing it without the rest of his people. Lucian, so fed up, and he's so sick and tired of seeing his people fight each other for food, he tells them that, we should not have to deal with the crap that these vampires give us. And we should revolt and, like, storm the gates and get the heck on out of here. And we are going to be free. So he stages... pretends like he escapes when he really doesn't. He kills the guards, and with his key that he made, he frees the others and stuff. And so, like, they have to all, like, sneak out and everything. Oh, I already told you how Ray's already got bit and got turned into, like, a werewolf. Then, because, Lucian bites all the human slaves and turns them into werewolves. Anyway, so they're all sneaking out until one knocks something over. And this is when the guards are alerted and they shoot the giant crossbow, like, spears at them. Basically, the arrows are tree logs. I love the weaponry here, but they managed to kill a couple. One dude takes one in the head. And so they make a barricade that blocks them all off. There's only about 8 that escapes. They're happy to be out and they want to get as far away from there, but Lucian tells them no, he ain't leaving without the rest of like the werewolves and everything. But they're gonna need an army. So he asked Rays, the nobleman that brought you and the rest of the slaves here, can you lead us back there to free the rest of them? But he's gonna go off and do something. Lucian goes off and he finds the rest of the werewolves, and they are calm when they see him, and he's able to somehow communicate with them. But we don't never get to see him talk to them. That would have been nice to see that. Or to see him calm them down, other than just him standing there scared as they're just calm and everything. This don't make no sense because, like I said before, they are literally savages, and only William can calm them down, a savage himself, but only the hybrid of Marcus can calm William down because he is that powerful. Lucian is powerful, but not that powerful. If he was, he wouldn't need to turn into a hybrid trying to in the first movie. So this is completely retcon and kind of makes the savage werewolves look so tamed. Not only that, but we never get to see Lucian and the others free the human slaves, but they go by neighboring states and freeing as many human slaves as possible. Then we see Lucian with a ginormous army. And he literally tells them that, like, if you fight with me to get rid of the vampires, then, I can also give you immortality if you want it. Meaning he's going to have the humans and the werewolves fight the vampires. Why are the humans going to fight them? The humans are not as strong as like the vampires. I thought automatically he will offer to turn them, but he gives them the option. In the battle scene, we do see humans and werewolves and the hybrids and all this like fight each other and stuff like that. But something happens. Basically, we get a cool scene between Thanos and like Victor, as Victor's about to kill him. Like, yo, how that dude get that key to get free? I gave you the spare and everything. So anyway, it's a funny scene with that. But Victor notices a crate is open. He follows the tunnel and it goes in his daughter's room. He now knows that his daughter is up to something. He bites her to find out what the genetic memories, and he is disgusted that she has been sleeping with Lucian. He even tells her, like, I was thinking about making him a death dealer and everything and stuff like that. And then you go and you do this nasty, disgusting thing, and, it causes problems. So he confines her to her room. Her friend, who's a blonde vampire, who's Tana Nolan and everything, the actress, she goes and she finds Lucian, kind of like a Romeo and Juliet. Remember when Juliet's friend goes and finds Romeo and be like, oh, the princess is like, about to be killed or whatever, something like that. They do it here to further do that reference. So he goes back to rescue her knowing it's a trap. And he fights his way through, he saves her, they both fight their way through vampires. But Victor is one step ahead with like barrels of like oil and fire and stuff. Doing a very beautiful rain fight sequence that I love to death. They make her movement look more ballet looking, which I really like. Her fighting style is different from that of Celine. She tells her father after she whoops his behind that like she's pregnant. He gives the best speech ever. He's all like, I curse the day your mother gave her life to bring you into this world. And he's all like, he was going to keep secret the affair, but now that she's pregnant, he has no choice but to tell the council. This is further ruining his image and everything, because he was disgusted in the first movie about this whole like hybrid pregnancy thing, that he killed his daughter. Now he was going to keep his secret, and so he tells the council, and the council votes to kill her. He is the last to vote, and it takes him a long time, and he says, I'll do it and stuff. And so then we get the death scene. Well, the death scene, like I told you before, is completely different. And also they ruin his character by having him wait so long to vote. So during the death scene in the original movie, she's a blonde actress, and we see tons of slaves in cages, and we see Lucian chained to the ground. The vampires are in the room, the sunlight comes down, and it kills that of Sonia. This is completely and utterly retcon. First, we get to see him get whipped again. Then he's in the room alone with Sonia. This corrects it, because if the vampires in the room, how come when they open the dome, they didn't die as well? So I like that correction, but none of the slaves are in the cages behind him. And the death scene happens very differently. It's very quick and almost in a beautiful kind of way in this movie, but in the first movie, it's slower and it's more painful. I like that a whole lot more. I don't know why they retconned the crap out of it. And of course, he steals the necklace, he escapes, only to get attacked by guards, and he is wounded. By this time, William werewolves can hear his cries, and they come charging, along with the humans that are going to help the fight, and the humans that have been turned into the Lucian type werewolves. They storm the castle, and we get like our fight scene. It's pretty good, but the problem is, it reminds me of the action from Resident Evil Apocalypse, where it's very quickly paced, and every time somebody throws a punch or a kick, it turns the camera really fast to a different angle, so you don't really know what you're seeing, but it's still really good action. But it's brief. Why? Because now we don't get to see all the cool stuff that happens with the werewolves and the vampires, other than the werewolves killing the council. Well, we don't see them kill them, we just see them scare the crap out of them and they scream. Then we get a fight sequence that's really cool between Lucian and Victor. It's a really cool sword fight scene that's briefly shown. It happens very quickly, and then they fall down into the chains, and we kind of get like a Xena fight sequence. But then that's shortly lived as well, as he just takes the chains and he throws them at Victor, and somehow they wrap around his body. He takes his sword and he plunges it inside Victor's mouth. And it's like, oh my God, he killed Victor. But it's like, oh no, wait, Victor's alive in the first movie. So it's like, as cool as that was, it takes away, because we know Victor survives. What is Tannis doing at this time? Victor told him to get the elders, hop in the boat, and get the freak nuts out of here. So as Lucian is now talking to the rest of the werewolves. Why? Because apparently the battle between the werewolves and the vampires was as over as quickly as the fight between Victor and that of Lucian. It's literally over, and we didn't get to see much of it. And he tells them, this is now our castle, and we're gonna have to like fight really hard to get rid of the vampires and blah blah blah, stuff like that. And then we see in the boat, Tannis is with all the elders in their caskets. We don't see the elders, we see the caskets, and we see Victor going inside the casket, about to take his 1,000 years or 2,000 years sleep and everything. And it ends. So while it is a good movie, yes, it is heavily flawed and retcons a lot of the first movie. And it also gives way too much sympathy to that of Victor killing his character, in my opinion. And I just wish certain things would have been stronger. But it's a whole lot better than the fourth and the fifth movie. And I've said this so many times that they should have never went back to the present day to see what Celine and Michael were up to in the fourth movie. They should have continued from this prequel movie and stuff. Because after this one, they should have shown, the huge battle between that of like Victor, Lucian, and Craven that started the big fire and everything, that the supposed death of like Lucian. Then after that, they should have made a movie showing when Celine's family got murdered and when she just started going bloodthirsty for like killing werewolves and everything. And then if they wanted to go back to the present day, then they should have, but they didn't. They fumbled. And they ruined their masterpiece of a franchise with the fourth and the fifth movie. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.